Pleasure to introduce to you Professor Tom Mueller. He is in our Department of Communication, and in the time I've known him to be one who has enthusiastically embraced technology. There are a lot of faculty sometimes on campus who are, it seems, resistant to using technology in the classroom and new ways of teaching. Professor Mueller has always been one in his conversations with me who understands that this is can be a useful tool. So he's going to practice what he teaches today by doing this remotely. I think last year he was in Michigan. Tom, where are you today?
Can you hear me now, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm back in Wisconsin. I'll speak on that in just a second, but I'm in central Wisconsin and the same campus, so I'll open with that.
Wisconsin. Okay. Yeah, so if you would make sure your cell phones are put away and give your undivided attention to Professor Mueller.
All right, am I on? Am I good? All right, welcome everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to do this because I am coming to you from Marathon County campus in Wisconsin. What's interesting is this is a 2-year campus where I started my education and was able to start going to university, and from there I went on to other things. But I'm back home. The reason I'm here is that I help my mother. My mother's 91. I come up here in the summers to help, so I appreciate the privilege you give me of doing this with a teleconference, right? It allows me to be here but yet talk to you, so thank you for that. So I'm at Marathon County campus. Just so you can see, here's where I'm at, right in the center of Wisconsin, and here's where you are, the northwest corner of North Carolina. So this is a 17-hour drive. So I don't make it too often, but this just shows you the distance from me to you, but I'm way up in the north central and you're down here. So thank you for allowing me to come to you today from this location. Okay. I want to welcome a couple people that are on as observers. All right. Miranda Dar is on and Jen Doherty. I hope I did that right, Jen. I think that your GH is silent, but they're from the Young African Leaders Initiative Network. It's part of the Mandela Fellowship program. Here's what we've been thinking. You may know this or not, but approximately 50,000 individuals applied for Mandela Fellowships into this cycle, and 700 got placed in the U.S. Okay? And these individuals has helped me understand over time. There's an email list of 500,000 individuals who would like to learn about what's happening in these programs. So they're observing today. What we're hoping is we could take some of what we talk about today and use that in some future communication out to the whole 500,000 if they would like to share it, okay? Maybe Facebook, maybe some blog posts, but I appreciate them coming on. We're going to talk about that going forward, okay? Helping others, okay? Greg Venn is on. Greg is a local friend of mine here in town. He was my 9th grade school teacher, and he's the one who started getting me thinking about English and journalism. And I might have been a laborer or something else if Greg hadn't helped me through the thinking process. So from then till now, we still take walks around the Marathon Park real close to here and talk about life and academics. So Greg's on. I want to thank him for coming on, okay? And then one last thing before we start. The techs that help put this technology together, thanks so much. Bob Aspinwall is here with me at Marathon Campus. He takes care of the tech here. And Daryl and Jeff over on your side, professional, real professional. So thank you. A couple shout outs to them before we start. Okay, that's why it all works. Their technology's great. All right? So thank you. All right. Let's get started. So I thought about this, and I know this is labeled as marketing and communication. That's what this seminar or lecture or whatever is supposed to be about, okay? It has to start with branding. I'm sure you've heard many times we have to do branding. It has to be branded. But without the brand, you really can't do anything because you might make some terrible mistakes, okay? So what a brand is, to break this down in the simplest form, to start with branding. If a brand was a person, pick a brand in your mind. I don't know what it might be. Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola, IBM, pick a brand. What would that brand be to you as a person? If you could picture a brand as a person, how would that person act? What would the personality of that brand be? Think of this for your own nonprofit organization. If your brand is a person, how does it act, right? What does it say? Is it assertive and aggressive? Is it compassionate? Is it welcoming? These are all attributes of a brand. So you have to start with that. We have to start to think about brands, and today we're going to talk a lot about branding yourself, and I want to tell you a little later a proposal I have for you on that, which will also co-brand and help you brand your organization. Okay? So think about branding, and then from there, we can go to marketing and communication. Okay? Marketing, you may have heard, I always think of marketing and business, the 4 Ps, you might have heard of that. Price, product, promotion, place. Marketing is basically, price would be for you, where do you fit in the marketplace? I thought of this. For your organization, what are your operating costs? What is the annual operating cost? Okay, among other competitor nonprofits, what might their marketing costs be? Where do you operate? That might be your price in the marketplace. These are things to think about to differentiate yourself, right? What's the product? That goes back to branding, I think. What are you marketing and what's the brand? Promotion becomes advertising, communication, social media. All the things, those are all the things we do as part of promotion of the 4 Ps, okay? And then the last one's place. That's really distribution when you talk about products. For you, and I'd suggest this. When we talk today about social media, what places are you going? What platforms are you using? How are you reaching these different audiences? Okay, so that's really a breakout real quickly of what marketing looks like, communicating those messages, but it has to start with the brand. And we're going to talk more about your brand in a second. Okay, so we define the brand. We talked about what's different about it in the market. And in a minute, I'm going to ask you what's different about you in the market, because today we're going to talk about your brand. What's different about you as a nonprofit organizer? Okay, think about that for yourself. What differentiates you? Okay, and then when we get there again, that's how we communicate that forward. Until you know those attributes, it's hard to tell people who you are, right? And many times this is where organizations fail, is they race out, and especially in social media, it's so easy to message, right? And we put a lot of stuff in the marketplace, and it's a mess. There's no good message, and we're not sure what we're telling people our attributes are. Okay, so think about that again. Branding, then the marketing steps, and in that, what is the reach and communication in social media? Okay, just hold those steps in your mind. Okay, consistent. And here's what I heard you had a really good session on stakeholders. Is that correct? Talked a little bit. There's all kinds of them, right? There's all kinds of needs. There's all kinds of stakeholders, but I will tell you this. Think about for yourself and your organization, what is that one clear, consistent message that's going to go out? Because what happens if you're talking to all kinds of people in different ways, there's dissimilar messages about your brand, right? We don't want one stakeholder, maybe it's a potential investor, thinking one thing, and a whole bunch of other people chatting on Facebook something else. This is hard to do. It's hard to control a single message that's clear, but it's part of your personal brand, and we'll talk in a minute about it, your niche. What is that message you want to tell people about yourself or your organization? Okay? So keep holding that thought. We're going to get to something real quick here. This is very important. How this works is the way you message this out, you're going to create one of two things. It's very seldom in the middle. Your brand is going to become an asset, or it's going to become a liability. Suggest this. What happens if all of a sudden there's a bunch of negative chatter on social media? People aren't understanding what you're doing. People are arguing about a project you're working on, right? What is happening in the marketplace then is your brand's becoming a liability. It's actually becoming less than value. What you have in your brand, it is an asset. It's worth a lot. It's what you own. So you think always about what you're going forward with, that singular message. I am building an asset. Just like a business, just like anything else, your brand is your asset. And that counts for you personally also. Okay? So keep with that. I'm still working here, okay? You've got to do this. You can't be stagnant. As you might well know, nowadays the social media marketplace is really competitive. I have to self-educate constantly. I'm meeting people running things now called the Facebook funnels. There's these different, frankly, clickbait marketing plans they're running. They're taking 20, 30,000 a month out of some Facebook sales. The marketplace on social media is going crazy. I want to tell you just a little bit about that today for yourself, but you have to do it to grow. And if nothing else today, think about how can I stay current? How can I understand how people are, frankly, for your position and from what I'm going to propose today, how are you making money? How are people making money using social media? Nothing wrong with messaging, right? We have to do that. We have to be clear. But from talking to Mandela Fellows, I know something. You need money. You need funding. Is that not true? You all need money. I've talked to you. I know sometimes how immediate it is. There's emergency needs for money. So I know you need funding. So I'm going to show you a few ways here today to try to look more at the funding side of social media as much as how to message about your organization. Okay? So we've got this, we've got the brand image, and I'm repeating a little bit here, but it's important. It's really important. You've got that brand image. Oh, by the way, I posted this whole lecture as a PDF on my spot on the As You Learn page. So it's all going to be there when we get done. Okay? You've got your brand image, consistent communication. You're going well with the messaging. You know who you are. You're building an asset. Here's what's most important. That's going to build trust. When people start trusting you as a brand, as an organization, as a person, that builds value. Trust, value, asset. Does that make sense? Because I think about this. When you, at least in our experience, when you shop for something online on Amazon, what builds trust or tears it down most? Have you ever thought about the shopping experience? I would suggest it's user responses, customer responses. I shop 4-star and up. If I want to find out, can I trust a product or service, I read the 4 and 5-star reviews. If I'm cautious, I click on the 1-star reviews. By the way, if you ever want to not buy something on Amazon, click on a 1-star review, you will not purchase it. Because in a second, all of a sudden, you don't trust it and you don't like the product. Okay, so we work toward trust. People trust us. They know what we're doing. They've heard there's a theory called recency theory. How many times do you have to hear a message before it really sticks with a consumer? Some suggest 7 or 8 times a consistent message delivered. People start engaging it. So you want that high trust recency where people know who you are. Okay, then you get the value. All right. This is what gets important. When you have this type of value, your employees, people who work, your volunteers, they become more inspired because you're really looking good and that asset is strong. This is important, okay? Donors, people giving money, they start seeing the asset. They start seeing the brand value. There's more giving. So again, this isn't just work and play. It's really getting people to the point they see who you are and they want to do more with you, and that may mean helping or providing. Okay? This is also important. Did you not have a session on grants? Writing grants? Okay. This can help with grant applications, okay? Because you have to believe if you're going after a sizable grant, someone is going to look at you on the internet. They are going to vet you in social media. They're going to look at what you're messaging. They're going to look at your brand. So if you're out there clean and crisp, consistent message, good value, it will affect your grant proposals. I just don't believe in this day and age anybody's going to make a grant decision without checking out who you are in social media and what your messages are. Okay? For today's study, we may talk about that may be you as a person, that may be your organization. But you want to be out there effectively so that the grant goes through. Okay, so these are all the upsides of doing the proper marketing. Okay, okay, here we go for today. How am I doing here? Pretty good. Two brands we're going to talk about: your organization's brand and your brand. Right? You got to look at them together but separate. If you're a leader in your organization, you have to look at both. You have to look at how are they similar, how are they different, and in this case, how does your brand, personal brand, support the organization's brand? Okay? It's really important to think about both because you hold a lot of power over your own brand. I think sometimes you work and work and work on your organization. You're passionate, but you maybe haven't done enough work on your local personal brand. Okay, so it's got to go together. It's got to go together. It's to be successful. Okay. How you think about your brand. Remember what we just talked about. We're at 15 minutes or whatever. We just talked about branding, the process, integrity, getting to the asset. All of this starts in your mind, helps think about how you do yourself and how you brand your organization. Right? You've got to do both together. You will be seen as a sub-brand of your organization. Pretty hard not to look at an organization and not look at their leader. I'm sure major donors, grant givers, they're all going to want to know who's the person behind the effort. All right? So think of yourself that way. You're a sub-brand of your organization. Okay? Hold that thought. Important. Okay? How are you perceived right now? If you're a person and you're on social media, just take a moment here and think. How are you perceived? Do you have a good social media presence? How's your LinkedIn look, by the way? Have you done LinkedIn accounts? Are you active on LinkedIn? Are you interacting? Good. Some of you may be very satisfied. Today we're going to talk more about Instagram. Some of you may be way down the road doing well with Instagram. Others maybe not. But I'm still going to make some proposals to you on what you might want to think about. So again, remember, what are your attributes, and are your attributes being properly presented on your social media? I'll tell you what, I'm guilty. I'll show you in a second my Instagram account. I have yet not well defined myself. Sometimes I like to do food things. Sometimes I'm really into fitness, diet, nutrition, fitness. Sometimes I write about that. Other times I'm an academic. I'm not sure yet what I am. I have these different attributes, but I'm not sure if I'm presenting it right or well enough. So think about your attributes, even make that list, and then just check your social media going forward to make sure you're always selling an attribute. That's part of your branding. Okay, so think about how you're perceived and write that list down. Okay, so today, you all have phones, correct? And it's funny, Brian just said put them away. Well, guess what? For this thing, we're going to get them out. Because you can go ahead and get out those phones. Can you believe it? There's no shame here today. There's no shame today. We're all going to get our phones out. Okay. So we'll go ahead. Some of you may have Instagram accounts. Some might not. You might want to play along with this. You might want to go into your profiles and take a look. I hope some of you have. I think you all might have accounts. If you have not loaded an account, you might want to look on with somebody else today if you haven't. But the point here, I'm just going to show you a few things you might want to consider for your own Instagram use. Okay? So let's go through some things. First of all, by the way, this lecture includes a lot of hot links. When you go back into this as my PDF, help yourself. I use a lot from Forbes. I think Forbes is a good business magazine. It's reputable. So here's a story, and I like what it says. Okay, first of all, we need to know Instagram is a photo sharing app. We know that, right? But here's what's good. It's where the most growth is. I think it's where most of the money is coming out of now, and I'll show you in a bit in the end here how I think you can make money. Okay? It's where the money's coming, and people are visual. Okay? People want to see things, and what's our attention span now? I teach in classes. I'm lucky to get 30, 45 seconds of a thought, right? Attention spans are down. I'm doing my best to hold you today. I'm doing my best. So what we'll do is talk about attention spans. Visual is what works. People are attracted to visual, and then they want the caption, right? But there's so much that happens in between. Okay, so By the way, you might know this or not, Instagram is owned by Facebook. Right? Interesting. Is Instagram cannibalizing Facebook, taking away users? Probably, but there's an interactivity there between the two. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute when I say cross-pollinate. All right? You may or may not know this. Instagram is going to compete with YouTube. It's just started like a month ago, IG, Instagram TV. So there's going to be an opportunity there for you if you want a little longer form video. People are going to start promoting that through Instagram. They're trying to compete with YouTube on that. So you might have a library of videos with your Instagram account. Okay? 700 million users, but 80% outside the USA. This is not a US thing. This is global. And here's how this is what demonstrates it. There's a new app out there called Instagram Lite. It's designed for countries where maybe the phones aren't as sophisticated. It takes less to run the Lite version on a phone. Evidently, it runs better if there's lower bandwidth, lower Wi-Fi power. So Lite is helping people get on Instagram around the globe. So this isn't let's replicate a US thing. It is a global thing. And that's why I think it's a good thing to focus on for you and your organizations. Okay? So hold that thought. We're moving forward. Okay. Here's what I'm going to hit on today. We're going to take a look at each one real quick. You may have this. If you do, I'd suggest please just listen along with me and what I propose, and you may or may not choose to make some changes. Okay? Profile image. What's that pic? Now, you all just had studio pics taken. Is that correct? You have new studio. You may choose to use that. I'm going to tell you in a second. Maybe so. Maybe you want another pic. We're going to talk about that, okay? But that's a nice one. By the way, I'm using my current App State pic myself right now, okay? So we've got the image. Personal bio is really important. We're going to spend time on you structure your bio. There's a lot of things happening right now with Instagram bios, okay? Your username. It should get a lot of thought. I'm going to show you a little tool in a second where you can play around if you'd like to look at new ideas. What is your username? Is it your name? That's okay. A lot of times famous people just use their name. You might want to build your name. Or is your username something that more talks about what you are as an action or an attribute? Okay, does that make sense? So think about that. We'll talk about that for a second. In your Instagram bio, you get one web link. What should that web link be? Very important. Does that go back to your organization? Does it go to your LinkedIn page? Does it go to a YouTube page? Really important about where you want to direct traffic with that link. Okay? I'll say this real quick. By the way, when you get bigger in Instagram, I think the break comes at about 10,000 followers, you get more privilege. There's opportunities to add more links in your stories. You get to do more things. But on start up to about 10,000 followers, we get that one link. Okay? Think of this. So many people build this profile page and move away. Maybe don't touch it for months. That profile page should be fluid. If something new happens, you may want to change the link and shout out to a new link. You may want to constantly shift on your bio to demonstrate what you're trying to tell people. So it should be fluid. This isn't something you park and never think about for a long period of time. Okay? And then when we get toward the end of this, we'll talk real quickly about what's our posting strategy. Do we have that strategy? That's the last thing I'll challenge you to do. What's your strategy for posting? And then the other thing, are most of you pretty active with hashtags? Do you use a lot of hashtags? There's a good science behind hashtags. You should always make sure you're using the biggest traffic hashtags with your posts. It brings in a lot of people you don't ordinarily get. And I'll show you a couple examples. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to challenge you on these areas. Okay, your profile photo. Research tells us with Instagram, you've got 2 seconds to make or break a viewer. They either come in, look at you, and get out, or they stay because they want to see more. So who are you? Back to that brand, your attribute. Silly face. Are you the silly face making tongue stick out? Or are you more this casual, glam shot look? Or are you the studio professional photo look? No right answer. Honestly, to me, the right answer is traffic. The right answer is what's driving traffic to you. Try one. If you don't think it's working, try another. So I'm not saying one's better, but you have to decide, again, back to your brand. Are you silly goofy as a person? Are you successful business person? Think about what that image is, but that image may attract or shut off a viewer or potential follower. Okay? So think about how that goes in. Okay? Make your profile picture colorful. This is a pic for me from several years ago. As someone gave it to me, you can see it's photo manipulated. You know about all the filters, right? You know about making different colors. Is this a good idea for me? I don't know. Maybe I should try it. But it's got some color. You can see it pops more. And when you're thinking these little tiny thumbnail pics, what's going to pop? What's going to make people stop and take a look? Do you want to try that? Honestly, maybe I shouldn't even say this. You could take your nice app state photo and clearly use the filters and editing to color it up if you'd like, or put a color border on it. But think about the color of an image. Some people that have done research say if you can get the what is that moment that people stop for just a second to wonder what that image is, they'll come back to your profile. Okay? So don't underthink your profile image. All right. Username. Have you all picked them or not? I know you get 30 symbols. You can use letters, numbers, periods, and underscores. I think underscores are important. I like them because they can really separate words and make things pop out. Okay? So in this case, I included this link for you. I'm going to pull into this thing here. This is sort of interesting to me. It's a little place you can go if it does open. I hope it does. Try this here. And it allows you to go in, so you'll see this. You can put in here a name or nickname. So let me just try this. I'll show you how it works. I can put in Tommy, and then I go, what do you like? I'll go funny, right? And then I go, let's see, hobbies. How about running? I do like to run. I still run. Okay. Things you like, and I'll put hamburgers, which I don't. I'm a vegetarian for 18 years, but I'm just playing here. I'm just playing along. Okay. Important words. I'm going to put fitness. And then numbers, I'm going to put 60 because I'm 61. Okay. And then you go ahead and hit what they call the spin button. And down on the bottom, it kicks up all kinds of potential usernames. I'm not saying you'd want any of them, but it's a great way to go ahead and just play around a little bit. Whatever your username is, again, back to your brand attributes. Plug in some of your brand attributes in this, hit the button, and see what it kicks up. But there should be a lot of thought that goes into that username. Okay? Hope that makes sense, or think about that for a second. If I go back, and let's see if I can get this. Here's my, and I'm going to go on and off to this. This is my Instagram account. You can see I'm just starting an Instagram here. I just got started myself. I'm still learning how to run everything, but I'm learning along with you. That's why I'm doing the studies, all right? But I've used, for a long time, you know, my business name has been ProfWriter, so I use ProfWriter _ LLC, Limited Liability Corp. Is that good? Does that really say a professor that's a writer? Do people know what that means? I don't know, but that's my current one. It's easy to change them, okay? So think about how you might use a username and how you might design it, okay? Spend time with that. I think it's important, okay? All right. The bio. This is something, if you're working on your phone now and you have Instagram, go into the edit function and take a look at what your bio looks like. This is the one area that most of the researchers say is where the biggest changes are coming to grow Instagram accounts, is in the bio. All right? So think about this. Here's most Instagram, and myself included, I just changed. It used to be you take your 150 characters and you write a linear statement, right? Just a bunch of words, commas, and it's a statement, maybe one sentence. It was that way a long time. What's happening now, and it seems to be most effective, and I'll show you examples, people are line breaking their bios. They're making fragmented statements in lines. So it's statement, statement, statement. It seems to grab more, and then there's a lot of emoji use. You may or may not be using them now in your bio. It's becoming very prevalent, and I'll show you. So I would suggest this. If you're writing, I broke out some headlines. What's that first line? The first line is probably the one people will see and might be all they see. They may only look at the first line of your bio and they go away. If they like your first line, they're going to stay and look around. Okay? So think about what's the first thing. It's important, right? Back to what I did. And again, I'm still working on mine, but I always think, later I'll talk, what's your credentials? I put my credentials first. Then I talk about my research as consumer psychology. I dimensionalize how people think. I try to understand why people do what they do. Okay? I work on our analytics group here at App State. We're on a big energy conservation research project. I want to tell people I'm involved with that. Mandela Fellows. I'm going to do more. I like it. I want to work. I want to help. So I definitely want to show this. 60 plus still running. Little personal thing in there. You might want to tell people what you're up to personally. And then I've seen this from somebody else, and again, I only get one link. For me, I use my link for my personal website, ProfWriter. But some people throw you to the YouTube account. For instance, right here, I've got a most efficient running technique video I made. I've got over 700,000 views on that video. So some people would suggest here I should post that YouTube link. Okay, but can you see what I'm saying here about the lines? How you can separate out your attributes line by line. Okay, are you doing that just by a hand raise? Is anybody in here doing the line by line breakout? Okay, if you're not, again, I'm proposing today you consider that. And if you are doing line by line, think about what it is and how you form that content. Okay, let me pop back over here. So you've got the first line. I mean, think of the order. And if you want, you can create with 150 characters, make up 5 or 6 statements and then possibly reorder them. But think about those attribute statements in your bio. Okay? How many of you know how to put the emojis in? Can some of you do? I have. Okay. Is it using a keyboard? Is that correct? You've got to go to an emoji keyboard to do it, right? So in my case, I still have to do that in my phone because I can't do it on my laptop. By the way, everybody says this was impossible to use Instagram on your laptop, but if you have Windows 10, there's a new Windows 10 Instagram app. That's what I'm using. So you can use Instagram on your laptop with Windows 10. I need to find out, though, on my phone how to get the emoji keyboard up to put emojis on the front of all my lines. I haven't done that yet. Okay. People are using a lot of emojis. They're colorful. They pop. They bring people into comments. They surely bring people into your bio. So if you do the line format for your bio, think about what emojis lead, follow. You can put them all around it. I think you get an emoji for a character. So if you have some characters left, you can use a lot of them. Okay? All right. Keep that thought. Okay. If you don't know how to do this, I'll tell you, you can't type lines into the Instagram bio space. You may know that. You have to go into what some call a notes app on your phone and type it in there. Here's another way. If you have your Google email account, you have a Google account, right, with App Now? There's some option in there called Google Keep. If you haven't used Google Keep before, it's fun. You can keep notes. You can save things. I use it a lot. It's almost like a big scribble pad. You can open a box in Google Keep, type these same lines, right? You hit enter, enter, enter to return to make the lines. Then you copy and paste that into your phone or into your field. Okay? So it'll catch the line breaks, and then you copy and paste that into your bio. That's how you get the lines into the bio in Instagram. I did again. I used Google Keep, typed it in there, copied and paste. Now I got to get the emojis in. Okay? So if you don't know how, that's it. Okay. Researchers say add nationality, add flags. Let people know geographically where you're coming from. I think with Instagram especially now, remember we said, how do you differentiate yourself? That's one good way to do it. Make sure they know where you're coming from, the geography of where you're at, what you're doing. I would suggest that's a line, important line. I haven't done it yet, but I would suggest that's good for you. Okay, so think about that. Credentials. This can be a little tricky, but other than, some degrees, if you're a leader in your organization, can you indicate a line that shows why are you credentialed to do that job? What makes you important enough for that job or makes you experienced enough to be doing what you do? Let people know that. Okay? These are all suggestions from the experts who do research on what needs to be in a good bio. Okay? And then a call to action. This is something we miss, right? In advertising, I'm an advertising professor, we teach two big things. You've got to have a unique selling proposition. By the way, you could always think of this. It always helps. What is your unique selling proposition? If you're trying to get funding for your organization, what's your unique selling proposition? Why should they do it? And what is the call to action? What do you want someone to do? In the case of the bio, it could be look at my profile or look at my website. Look at my LinkedIn account. Click here to see something. But you always want to prompt people to do something. Frankly, I have not done well at that. I have to do better. A lot of times in Instagram, and I'll talk in a second, using a question prompts a response. So every time you post, every piece of content, always leave it open for people to respond. That's what drives traffic and followers. Same with the bio. What do you want them to do? Okay? So we've got all these options and opportunities inside our bio. Seems like a simple little thing. Matter of fact, I just did an assignment today for a class I'm teaching online, and we were working on LinkedIn profiles. And someone wrote for their assignment, well, I wrote a little blurb. I thought, well, what is that little blurb? That little blurb is everything. That little blurb is all these things that lead to your success on Instagram. Okay? So you think of it that way. All right, great. Emotionally engaged is the other last part. I believe the last part is what is emotional? What makes people engage? What are you passionate about that can reflect back to others? Okay. Why should they engage? What's emotional? Sometimes I think we are too prescriptive. We tell about ourselves. There's a good statement about being client-facing. You might have heard of that or not. Be client-facing. That means you never talk about yourself. You always position things as your value to others. Okay? I did this. I like that. It's more about great recipes for people who love pies. I like to cook pies. I give great recipes for pies. So the idea is think about what people get from you. So when you emotionally engage them, what are you giving them? It's a big thought process of not so much me, I think I feel. What's the value to the other side? Client facing. Okay? Remember that. Web link we talked about, be strategic. I had that in earlier, right? We're going to do that. Think about why we're using a certain link and we can change them. Okay. Hope you can see this just a little bit. Any of you know about ASOS, the company? Big online fashion apparel company, I think out of Great Britain. I don't know, well, you can see this, but if you noticed here, they're still using the linear form, but they're using a lot of emojis in between, and they're using some usernames and some hashtags. You know, we're going to talk about that in a second, but some have built things in like hashtags, usernames. These are all activation points. So you can do things like that, but remember, this is still linear, correct? I mean, it's more like a one running line. Some still do that, okay? This one I found, it's an example. Look at this one. Heavy emojis, a lot of color, all hashtags basically about attributes. Vegan sketching, unicorn hair. I mean, this is more funny and silly and personal, but that's all it is. It's emojis, and it's about these different types of lifestyle attributes. Okay, so, but there's a good issue of, you know, how to line things up. Okay, all right. Here too, this is more business oriented. Note this one. Pretty much exactly what she does for business. All these are all, remember those credentials? She's pretty much done a real heavy credential bio. Okay? Get this, all my own picks. Isn't that interesting? Never thought of that. A lot of people are sharing how much internet stealing is going on for picks, right? Grab up picks. She's saying, these are all my picks. I do all my, that's a great attribute, right? She called that out. So again, different ways to demonstrate how you're doing business. This one is a little edgy, but it's impactful. Check this, 95,000 followers. Mom left, dad died, I hustled. Okay? Pretty powerful open, right? And pretty crafty, okay? Then this is all selling. My life story will inspire the blank out of you, okay? Follow me to greatness. iTunes top artist, okay? This is 20 million views on YouTube, 460,000 views on my life story. See here? He chooses to use his YouTube link to take you onto edgier, aggressive. Can you sort of see the difference possibly between who this individual is and who that person is, or who that person is? This person's a little further on the edge, 95,000 followers. And believe me, at 95,000 followers, you're making money. You're making money, and I'll show you how in a second. Okay? All right. Let's move a little bit. We got the bio done. We got that far. Now let's think about what do we do to start strategizing how we get out to other people, right? How do we reach them? Okay? What's your niche? This may be other than your organization. Back to what I do, I'm a little of everything. I get okay traffic and likes on my food. Right here I'm looking at, here's a piece of pie I had recently. I thought rhubarb pie is famous, this real thick crust. I wrote about that and I give the shout out to the restaurant. Okay. I like to do geo stuff. This is the Wisconsin River. I like to show people natural outdoor things. But the issue here, and some more food things, some fitness. My point is, what's your niche? It's hard to do, but I think you might want to choose. Are you a good cook? Do you cook a lot and know a lot of good recipes? Do you take a lot of nature photos? What is your hobby? But to find that niche and to move forward on that, I think is important. Okay? Let's think about that. Post actively, you know that. We're going to talk about a post schedule. You have to get involved with that. This takes work. None of this is easy. The other part of posting is reaching out to others and commenting. Finding people, and honestly, we'll talk about influencers in a second. It's a lot of times important to find important influencers and understanding how we can connect with them. It may be donors. It may be corporate entities. But how do we reach out and connect with other people? So a lot of times it's going to their posts, their items and pictures, and writing your comments underneath. So you're posting, you're reacting to others. Okay? All right. Hashtags, I'll show you in a minute how that can be really important to use those. Cross-pollinate means this. Always in every way you can share your posting and work across different platforms. If you do a nice comment in a picture in Instagram, you can automatically link that to Facebook, and you can also do a shout out on Twitter. Come see this. So always share. A lot of times if you're on LinkedIn, have you ever used the blog function on LinkedIn? If you blog on LinkedIn, you can shout it out on Twitter. You can share it on your personal blog. You can share that onto Facebook. Always cross-pollinate your work. Why waste it, right? If you created it and it's yours, let as many people and as many channels know about that and how to get there. Okay? Cross-pollinate. Okay? So let's go through in the end a couple things, then I'll show you how to make money. So today so far we talked about branding. Quick review. We've got to know our brand. We've got to know our attributes. We've got to know our messages. We've got to be consistent. Remember, we just talked about a niche. We've got to understand what's the niche and how can I be consistent in that. We need to do all that because we have to get a good brand that demonstrates good, builds trust, which gets to value, which affects things, right? So we're going that far. So we've got our Instagram bio going. Now we're going to, this is, by the way, I buy a lot of little online books from Amazon. They're not all super great, but a lot of the people doing this are cutting edge. They're really doing some new things with Instagram. This is one of them I just looked at, so I'll show you a few, okay? Be motivational and inspiring. We know that, okay? Add value by telling people or giving people something. And then ask them to do something or pose a question. But here's the thought. Make it comment worthy. Most of my stuff, I'll be honest, I get a lot of likes for things. I don't get a lot of comments, and I don't get enough followers. Those are the three processes. You go from likes to comments to followers. Okay? Where you want to get is followers. That's what people judge you on as far as making money. Okay? Followers. So you have to write comment worthy. What are people going to care about? What, do you pose a question? Is it a little controversial? What makes them write back? The comments build the traffic. Okay, so do that. Pretty simple, but hard to do all the time. Okay. If you're liking things, making comments, you can do certain things on the web browser, others you can't. Open a web browser like Chrome, open your Instagram account there, and do a lot of your work there. Typing, comments, liking, going in and back and forth, writing to people. You go a lot faster on a laptop with a keyboard than you would on your phone. Probably, okay? So you can do a lot of work quicker. This is like your maintenance work, right? Commenting, writing back to people who commented to you. Go ahead and do it on a browser, okay? Other work you might want to post on your phone, but you can get a lot done here faster. Okay. This is a trick, and I believe it works. This is what I read. If users comment on one of your images, don't comment or post right back to them or comment back to them immediately. Wait till you make your next post, then go back and like that picture. They say they'll get a double notification on that. They'll get a notification that you liked them back, and they'll get a notification for your next pick. It's like double trafficking. So this individual says, wait, if you make the new post, go back to your last, re-like everybody that liked you, make a couple comments. That's doubling up on the traffic for notifications. Okay? Sounds like a little trick, but you got to work the system. Okay? Here's a big one. Let's say you're in your organization. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of volunteers, followers. Okay, you can create a special Facebook page, and the page is for nothing more than this, to identify each other of when you posted. So you go in the Facebook page, say, here's my new post. The other 19 people immediately go to that thing and like it and put some comments in. What you're doing here is you're generating immediate traffic. So let's say your organization has 40, 50 followers. Ask them to come onto that Facebook group. Tell them we're going to share and like each other's work, especially for you. If you're the leader and you're posting a lot for your organization, that Facebook page can alert 40, 50 other people you just posted. And basically the whole message there is, go on there, like it, make comments. So here's something you may have posted. Who knows how much traffic, maybe none. What if all of a sudden now you're guaranteed 40 or 50 posts or likes or comments on everything you post? People see that immediately. They see a lot of activity. Okay? So it's using Facebook to prompt activity on Instagram. Okay? If you're on someone else's photo and there's other comments, like those comments. If you're reading comments on somebody else's photo, like them, they get a notification that you like their comment. Once again, if you do this several times a day, you might have 50 new people getting notified that you liked their comment. First of all, you complimented them, right? I liked what you said. Maybe you even comment back. You're putting yourself out among all different new people. Okay? So it's not just looking at those comments on another picture. You can leverage those back to your traffic. Okay? Good. if you do this, someone new comes on to one of your posts and liked one of your photos, go to their profile and immediately, let's say, like 3 of their pictures and comment on 1. Right? You're reaching out. You just made a new friend. Because somebody found you, probably from a hashtag. They found you, but you reach out back to them. Takes 30 seconds. Click, click. Quick comment on one of their posts. They see that you have come back to them. That will generate followers. Okay? Tricks to do. Okay. Remember this, I said it before, call to action. You're always proposing a response. So if I put that pie picture, I didn't do it right. I should have said, what's the last great piece of pie you had? Where did you get it? Okay. Question, something. But don't just state, here's a great piece of pie. I'm asking people to tell me about their greatest piece of pie. By the way, hashtag pie has millions of posts. So if you talk about pie, you're going to get a lot of people reading about pies. But you have to ask them, when was your last great piece of pie? Okay. Think about that call to action, usually in a question. Okay. All right. Emojis we talked about. This individual says this, you make a post. Okay, let's say nothing's happened yet. You can go in and make 3 comments on your own post. Pepper it up with emojis. The next person that comes in sees what? A lot of color and a lot of activity. So all of a sudden it looks like a real active post when it wasn't. So you can populate your own posts if you'd like to get some traffic started on it. Again, the emojis, colorful, make people stop and look. Okay? Little tricks. All right. Here's another trick. You can go in and you can post, let's say you have a funny picture. You took a funny picture of a dog. And you can go in and say, ask your viewers, write a caption to this picture. And it's sort of a mini contest, but you say, I'll pick some winners and give you a shout out on my next post. So a lot of times if you put hashtag dog, a lot of people are going to see that. A lot of people might want to write a funny caption. Let's say you get 50, 60. You go in there, your next post, you might even want to repost the dog picture. Hey, here's the 3 caption winners from the dog post. Right? So you're giving them a shout out, plus you've generated a lot of this traffic. Okay? Mini contest. All right. Okay. Said it before, when you respond to anything, always kick it back with another question. If someone even asks you a question in a comment, kick it back, but leave that with a question. You always want a prompt call to action to keep more traffic coming back in. Okay? So some of this you may see as, boy, this is a lot of work. But when you're strategizing, these are quick little steps you get in the habit of doing that will allow you to keep this thing growing with some extra time, but not a whole lot more to try to generate the traffic, because we've got to get the likes up and we've got to get the comments up. We've got to get the followers so we can make money. Okay? All right. Influencers we talked about. Who are they? Make a list of your top influencers. Are these potentially the 5 big donors you're after? Are these the 5 corporations? Or is it the CEO or chief financial officer of one of the big companies you're after? Find these people and make maybe a top 10 list. Okay? Who are those top influencers? These are people you want to get to. You know how hard this is, right? So you find that for your industry interests. Make the list of those followers. If then you want to do this, if there's a picture or something associated with that follower or that influencer or what they do, include @ with their username, right, in the caption, and they'll get that back into their feed. So you can compliment people, you can shout out different things you've read about them. If there's images related to their business, you can put that in there and then include them with the @ sign before their username, and you will feed back to them. Okay? This is a real introductory way of getting involved with potential influencers and donors. Think about who they are and write and craft to them. Okay? All right. Hashtags we talked about. Let me stop here once and I'll show you something real quick. But if I go up into my site and let's say I guess I'm going to post something, and I put a few pictures in here
But let's say I go up here, and this is a bike ride I did, okay? So I sometimes post routes of bike rides, and I put this up here. And by the way, this is my favorite filter, the first one. It really makes things pop. So you can see it's up to you, but we all play with filters, right? So I'll use this filter, and then I'm going to go next. And as I write, I can write whatever I want. But what about hashtags? When we look, if I go cycling, I see quickly, look at cycling, 17 million posts. If I'm going to write about bicycling, I'm going to go cycling, right? I think I told you earlier, if I'm going to write later, and I test different hashtags. What about pie? Pie's got 4 million posts. There's a lot of traffic on pie. So you want to go hashtag pie. But you can see my point is hashtag strategy is so important. Because to be found just as who you are with a comment, you don't know what that traffic will be. But when you find the right, now here I look through Mandela, and we've got Mandela effect, Mandela. By the way, we could build a lot more for Mandela Fellows. I don't think there's a lot of traffic. Look at this, 2,000 posts, we can do better. So maybe if we build this out right and we start reaching out to the many, many thousands who wanted to be in the program, maybe one day Mandela Fellows hashtag is million. So the idea here is just to think about how do you use that hashtag strategy to make sure you're always driving people there, because they'll hit those search words and those hashtags and they'll be to you. That's how I get a lot of my food traffic. Okay, so think about that. All right, here's the end. I'm going to talk to you just a little bit and then we'll have some questions. I'm going to make a unique proposal to you today. And I've thought about this a lot because I've worked with Mandela Fellows, I think 3-4 years now. I know your needs are. I know they're immediate. I know you want to get cash. Here's what I would suggest. A long time ago, 2006, a guy named Chris Anderson wrote a book called The Long Tail. Okay? Here's where most business happens. Maybe here's the big charitable organizations. Here's all this money moving around, right? Maybe this is Amazon buying. But see down here, this long tail of distribution? This has become millions and millions of micro businesses, micro influencers making money. This is growing. You can make money down here in the long tail. Okay? A lot of people are making really good living off being micro influencers. So I'm suggesting today consider that you as a personal brand, you as a person on Instagram and your social media can become money generators down here in the long tail. Okay? Here's what's happening. How many of you buy or ever have been affected by a pop-up ad? How many pop-ups do you get? Does it matter? Do they do anything? Maybe not. Advertisers get it. They are diverting billions of dollars into social media. A lot of that money is going into big influencers. A lot of it's going into small influencers. So there's a lot of ad money that's out there to be had if you do this properly, okay? So I'd suggest this, and I'm going to show you a couple things to start looking at. For you as a personal brand, maybe other key leaders in your organization, maybe some top-level volunteers you trust, maybe you all sit down and start building your personal brands with the goal of doing this to build followers, with the goal of making money. If you're successful and make money, you choose to share and put that back into your organizations. Okay? Instead of the old model, everybody's out there looking for money for the org, trying to get their traditional. What if there's 15 micro influencers within your org all trying to build their personal brands? Let's be honest here. We're not all going to get rich and make a lot of money. Some will. If you're the one who hits, and by the way, it's not unusual to hear about people making $3,000, $5,000, and $10,000 a month doing this. If you're the one who hits and you're passionate, would you want to put a portion of that money back into your org? So I'll challenge you on this. Is a personal brand building. It's not just about fun. It's not just about being reputable and building a good brand. That's all important. But there's ways to think about this as money generators. Okay, and I know that's so important to you. Okay, so Forbes, again, you can click on this later, hot link to that article, but not unusual to make $5,000 for a post. Some people that are high traffic make a lot of money just making one post. Okay, this is fun. Let me see if I can't get to this and show you this one. So if you're out there and you're thinking about what you're doing in business, how you're out there, this is fun. You can click on this. It'll show you, like for example, Twitter, what are you worth? Okay? And all you got to do is type in a handle here. Now, I did my own. Of course, I'm not making money yet, but I just did this. Jeff Gordon, you may or may not know, he's a famous NASCAR. He was a race car driver, recently retired, did a lot with Pepsi. Okay? So I kick him up and I look at what he's worth. Here's Jeff and his family now, a lot of NASCAR credentials. He can make up to $4 or $5 grand a tweet. Okay? Now again, he's got a lot of followers. But what if you were making $500 a tweet? People see you as a micro influencer. You're a diverse audience, you're a unique audience. There's a possibility that you can grow your own community and start getting paid to make tweets. There's places to go to find out who will pay you. Okay? If you go down here and look around a little bit, here's Taylor Swift. Might have heard of her. 73 million followers. She's worth $60,000 a tweet. Okay? How they pay out, I don't know. Here's another band, Coldplay, you might have heard of, 16 million followers, 45,000 a tweet. Okay. Now this is wonderful. And I'm not saying this is you, but I'm saying there's some revenue out there for you. Okay? So let me close this out if I can get to this. All right. Here's another one. Now here's where I'm going to show you 2 or 3 sites where you can go to and write. You'll find these in my lecture. The links will be there. These are places you can go to start looking into how to make money. Okay? Tribe, this site is about a company will post a creative brief. You might have learned a creative brief in advertising. It might be a company selling, we're Red Bull energy drink. Here's what we're doing. Here's the message we want to do. Here's what we want to talk about. In Tribe, you can go back in there and you're able to go ahead and post a proposal on what you would post for them. Okay? So you can look in here. Here's all these case studies of companies that did this. And again, you can go up and look at this, but you can get involved. And what they do is allow you to go in here and start collaborating with brands that want to do business. You've got to do the research. You've got to get in here, but it's an opportunity. So right here, I'm an influencer. You can click in and start working and finding out who's out there, what are they trying to sell. And then when you have the right number of people out there, you help these brands sell. Okay? And what happens is you submit a creative post. You come back and say, based on your creative brief, here's a post I'm proposing. And you know what? You tell them what you want to get paid for that. You propose it to them. Here's my post. I want $500. I want $1,000. I want $1,200. You go ahead and propose it, and they come back and say if they'll take it. If so, you get the deal. You send the post, and you get the money. Okay? Places to go to start finding out who's doing business this way. Could be you. It should be you. Okay? It should be you. So think about that one. Okay? Tap influence. Here's where you build a profile, almost like LinkedIn. Okay? You go ahead and you build a profile, and I'm sure it's like LinkedIn. You keep improving it, you keep creating it and building it further, and then companies come in there and find you. Okay? So this one here, again, there's different ways to go about this. This is always free. You go in here and build your portfolio, your place to go. Average earning here, $763 monthly. Okay? This is happening thousands and thousands of times. People are doing this. There's people at home. These people you see on Instagram, anywhere north of 10 or 20,000 followers, if they're not making money, they could be. Okay? So they're getting paid. They're going in here. They're posting in. And you can walk through this. You create the account. You keep building and strengthening your profile. I mean, you got to make value, right? You're telling people why you're worth it. And then a company will come back to you and say, let's do something. Let's work together. And you can get an invite to work with a company. Okay? So all different ways to start. If, in my mind, if you weren't motivated to grow your social media and your Instagram followers, this would help me get motivated. This would help me. Okay? So let me think. I think this is one last one here. I think on this one, one second. Oh yeah, this one here is paid per like. So this is traffic oriented. You work it out with the organization, the brand you're working with, okay? And in this one, you figure out you're going to do business, and you do a post, and then you get paid for the traffic, okay? So if you're a big mover, I guess you generate 1,000 likes, 2,000 likes on a post, you'll get paid based on the traffic off that, and it's agreed upon amount, okay? You can read in here, help yourself. Here's what's people saying about how they're working with this site, how they feel they're making good matches with different brands, and they're getting paid. Okay. So this to me is so interesting because as someone teaching advertising, there's this whole under-the-scenes billion-dollar market moving around that we have to find out about. Students need to know this. You need to know this so that you can go ahead and start generating the revenue. Okay? So we've got several there to look at. There's more. A lot of these were called out in the Forbes article. There's other places to find out how to do this, okay? So I'm at where I'm going to finish here today, and then we'll do some questions. But I'm going to challenge you. Make a 1-month Instagram plan. So use a calendar. Decide what that niche is. Think of everything today. Think of the brand. Think of your attributes. Think of value building. Think of the call to action. Think of how you're going to generate comments, right? Build that plan for 1 month, okay? What are the images going to be? And you don't have to have them all now, but what theme are you going to write about for a month? Maybe it's about your organization. Maybe the first month is only about your organization. What are those images? What context are you going to set those images in, right? What are you going to ask people to do? And then across a month, how do you distribute that? You can look it up for your own time zone. There's certain times a day. I think it's 2 a.m. and 5 p.m. that are the top Instagram post times. When are you going to post? What are you going to post? What's the frequency of those posts? Okay? And set some goals. The idea here is how can I start growing followers? Maybe it's 100 at a time. Maybe it's 500 at a time. But over time, think about how to get the followers up so you can get on these money sites, make the cash, and by your own choice, put that cash back in your organizations. Okay? So that would be my proposal. This is me, by the way. This is my studio shot that I had done last year. Some of my information. So right now, that's it. Open to questions, comments. What would you like to talk about? Let's go ahead and hit the button.
I have a question. I have 2 questions. And my first question is about the privacy. Most of us, but for me, especially when I'm in my Instagram, I put privacy. So I request for my friend to ask me a permission to be a friend. So I want to see if this is a good idea. And also, I'm for a French-speaking country. So most of the time when I did the post, I used to translate it in both. So when the post is too long, people tend to leave it and to not read it or comment, because if you are doing a post in French, those that are from English people will not read. So if you did it in English, also those from French-speaking country will not read. So this question that I wanted to point out.
Well, you just presented a wonderful problem for a global citizen, didn't you? Because as a global citizen, I've got to do this too. This isn't a USA thing here. Maybe some money's here, but you might have to think about different audiences you're writing to. And another thing, as a journalism professor originally, all the rules are out the window. It's not about perfect grammar. It's not about the right commas. It's about what catches. It might be fragments. It might be phrases. It might be emojis with some words. But you made a great point. I mean, this isn't universal. So I think you can almost think about if it is a universal language, how simple can you get it to caption under an image to try to keep it across a lot of different languages? It's not easy to do. But that's a great point because we have to think globally. So thank you. Yes, press the button.
Good morning.
Hey.
Am I? Okay. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
very good, very good.
Okay. I just want to know. But first of all, thank you for taking us through. For me personally, I have an Instagram account, but I have never utilized it. I just checked and I see about 500 plus followers, which I don't know how I get them. But then, while you were giving the sessions, I was, on my phone trying to even update a few things. Even I've not even done my bio on that because I don't know, it's word character limited. I don't know which one to write or not to write. But you, because of your these lines that you just mentioned, I think it will help me also to put up a good bio. And my question is, you mentioned of one having money or generating money of raising funds through Instagram. My question is, how do you claim that once you have the money? Because I've seen those people have, if you post one, like those people who have around millions of followers, you just tweet one or post one, you are entitled to some amount of money. How do you claim? How do you generate the money?
I'm sure there's got to be some paywall in that, suggesting PayPal or something like that where they can pay through. But I know there's going to be some kind of, you may have to open a bank account with some routing numbers that they'll put the money in. But the thing is, with these corporations and these sites, you're going to get paid because it's all automated. So you would probably have to work with however they can form it. But a lot of times it's open a bank account with no other money in it, find the routing numbers to that, and they can put it in. Or like I said, PayPal's universal for buy and sell pay type things. Okay, if you have 500 and have done nothing, keep going. Something's going on there. I mean, you know that 500 is a lot. So whatever you are or are doing, you must have a brand going well. So just look at what happened, and if you got comments, try to find out what they're saying, and then look at what is so attractive for 500. That is fabulous. That's fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing what you shared. What I want to ask is, you shared strategies about liking comments of people in other posts, going through their pages and liking 3 pictures. But when actually people do that to my posts, like going through my pages and like 10 or plus pictures, I feel like I'm stalked. And how do we balance this? Because people might feel uncomfortable as we are doing that. So how do we gauge the balance?
So, great point. I mean, there's a lot of not so good things happening on the traffic in Instagram. You know, comments can be not appropriate, but not to stalk, as I say this, be thoughtful. Be thoughtful. If it's something you want to comment on, it should mean something like, if it's a comment on a recipe, you would come back in thoughtfully and say, I've cooked that recipe, but, I like these seasonings better in it. I think as long as we're appropriate and again, remember that added value? We're giving something back of value. I don't think that's stalking, because then we're talking about what the comment is about. Okay, but yeah, I don't think stalk. And believe me, I get the stalking part with some of the traffic I see on some of the fitness sites. So I appreciate that. Just be thoughtful, and we should always be thoughtful. Everything we post, remember, we're adding value. We're trying to add value. Okay.
Thank you very much. My question is, what is your advice to those who do not have organizations yet, but they have plans to start one? What should their branding page or profile look like? And also the second question is, like, for example, if somebody made a comment and maybe you feel, actually about what she said, you feel the comment is uncomfortable, is it okay for you to delete the person and stop following?
Yes. Here's the problem. You're going to be so radically famous that when you post, there'll be like 1,000 comments in there, and it's almost impossible to keep up. I remember a while back, you might have heard of Ashley Judd. She had so many inappropriate comments, she had hired a full-time person to keep her social media scrubbed. So it's a problem, but I think that deleting, absolutely. If it's not about what you're posting, it shouldn't be there if you can control it. It's just that as you grow, it gets harder and harder. But that's something that social media has that's difficult. Regarding your, I'd call it future vision. Remember we talked about passion and emotion. What if you're going to start a nonprofit, there's got to be a need behind it or you wouldn't be trying to do it. Why are you passionate? What's the need? What's your future vision? I would paint that picture in your profile. That's where you're headed. That's where you're going. You need help. You need partners. You're growing a big... So that's the type of thing. Try to help people envision where you're headed. There's plenty to work on in that respect.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tom. I would like to understand how we can promote our GoFundMe page using Instagram and Facebook, especially for our organizations.
Yeah, I think with one link, you have that one GoFundMe link, right? And I would suggest to be thoughtful about it. You might do this. You might have a picture with one specific issue that's happening, maybe one specific goal you're trying to reach. And then in that comment, you'd put, see us on the GoFund link, right? Because you can direct them back to the bio. So you're going to have to do explicit. Remember, we're selling good attributes here. So there's many, many things why this GoFund page exists, right? There's many reasons. Nice image, the comments about why that's so important. See us at the GoFund page. And surely, it sounds to me like in your bio, you're going to want to have a real heavy call to action in the bio, right in your bio in that link. So your bio calls out the GoFundMe, and then periodically, I would call out that link in posts. I wouldn't do it every time. Then it's like this incessant hammering. But when there's a valued statement, direct them back to the GoFund link in your bio. Until you get your your preferred account and you're north of 10,000, then you can start putting the link in your comment, but not yet. Okay.
I have two questions. The first is for the. Where's it going to?
I'm just getting a drink.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You heard me? Okay, for the adverts that you talked about on the pages, like the Tribe and the Tap Influence page, how are you sure that when you present an idea to them, your idea remains authentically yours and they don't steal it and yet don't pay you? That's the first question. The second question is, do you have anybody maybe here at App State or someone you can link me or us to? Because I'm thinking of developing an app. I've seen a gap that I think an app will fill, and I need someone that I know is when I share the idea with won't steal the idea, or someone that we can collaborate with to build the app.
Yes. Couple points there. With the app, for starters in the tech department, I've tried to talk to people that know about building apps. John, who's helping us with the program, John that helped you with the Chromebooks?
Yes.
Just ask him who might be working with apps within App State, because I think everybody's looking for app developers, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing I'd suggest is when we know and can legitimize these different paywalls, these different pay sites, everything will be set as far as your authentic message, what post is yours. That's going to be agreed upon. So when that post is posted, you will get the agreed upon money, be it per like pay or one-time fee, but that will be already locked in with the partner through those sites. I would suggest, if I didn't know these legitimate sites were out there, that it would be impossible to get paid. I used to own small businesses. The best thing I know is how not to get paid. People don't want to pay. But with this type, right? With this type of thing, I think it's preferred, and the micro-influencers are tied into this, and so are the brands, right? The brands can't not pay. So it's almost like Amazon or eBay. it's really hard to cheat someone or Amazon or eBay because there's always a recourse to that seller. In this case, too, on those major sites, you're always going to have a recourse to get paid. Okay, so just work within the system.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for your presentation. My question is, within the Instagram, you can also get the robot follows, and so you can use the robot follows maybe to cheat to your client, and how do we address that? And the second one is, within the Instagram, there is a feature that you can be verified, having a verified account.
Yes. Yes.
What are the process to get your account verified? Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. I read about verified accounts and I wanted to talk about it, but the best way I can answer that is no one knows. It's a little secret. It's like Instagram. You get the little blue check and you're really, really hot if you get verified. But I've read about it. People actually hire certain agencies to get them verified. Sometimes, evidently, you make proposals to Instagram. Sometimes people have really big numbers and don't get verified. So it's really elusive how you get verified, but you're right, verified accounts are the hottest. As far as robo accounts and all the different cheater technologies, honestly, I don't know. To me, that is for if you get so big that you feel you're being exploited, then you would have to decide how to get help technology-wise. But that whole verified account thing, a lot of people are chasing it, and not all have got it. Yes.
Good morning, Professor. Yeah, I think my question is simple. I'm trying to find out from you how we can balance up the marketing mix to ensure that you meet the satisfaction of all your clients, all your followers, because I think that can be also a challenge. You might be pleasing one particular group, but then the others feel disengaged, and you may end up losing again on that. So I don't know what could be the tip on that.
Well, I think the marketing mix, it's complicated. I'd say, most of you are you, right? You're building a personal brand, and I realize you also have other jobs. You got stuff you're doing here. This is not a 9-hour-a-day thing, right? So the biggest thing I can say for the marketing mix right now is cross-pollinate. It's the best you can do is when you have a piece of information, excuse me, possible that a comment in Instagram might become a blog in LinkedIn, or it might become a tweet. But it's impossible to think about as one person. How you're going to do more than that if you start customizing all your social channels, that's full-time work. So I think the idea of the marketing mix is be consistent. You have to do that. It's what's the consistent message in the niche, and then try to replicate that again and again. As one person, that has to be the marketing mix for now.
Yeah. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
I have a question and kind of a comment. I run a Facebook page for our organization, and we get these messages at times to pay and boost our message to a higher number of followers. So I was wondering if it's advisable.
Advisable. I get them all the time. I run the our advertising club page on Facebook. They're hitting me all the time to boost. Everything I told you today is organic growth. It's you growing your account. You're not paying anybody any extra money. You're not boosting anything. People that are growing it are doing it this way organically. A lot of them are being successful. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of sales messages about how you're supposed to pay somebody else to help you boost those messages. I'd suggest you don't have to do that now and stay on your own personal planning path. That's my opinion on it. By the way, there are people who are expert at Facebook, and they know how to put sort of clickbait ads out there, and they know how to go in, and they know how to collect 30,000 names. They know how to turn them. There's a whole science behind boosting and putting paid advertisement into Facebook, but that's for experts. That's a whole other thing.
I have a question regarding the people who hike your Facebook accounts. Sometimes you receive messages from your friends saying that I received in my messages on my messenger of you requesting money, requesting for help. What are the strategies to ensure that your Facebook and your social media accounts are safe? Because over the like 2 months ago, there have been increased rate of people hiking Facebook accounts. Most of my friends are victim. Yeah, there's some people who are soliciting funds from her account. Yeah, so what are the strategies? Is it that you have to ensure that your security password is what are the strategies to ensure that your social media accounts are safe from hackers?
Scammers are everywhere, right? It's hard to avoid them. For instance, this Facebook group I suggested for sharing and looking at each other's Instagram and helping each other, that'd be closed group for sure. You don't want anybody in there. Scammers are coming. The one thing I'd suggest is if you probably need one legitimate source for funding, if it's a GoFundMe page or somewhere, but everybody has to know the only legitimate place to contribute to this group is X. Okay, there's one place only. They have to come into that GoFund page. You can tell everybody anything else is a scam. We only take contributions through this one place. And that's a safe place, right? GoFundMe, PayPal, whatever you want to use. But let's be honest, there's scammers all over the place, and to try to steal from you, there's a special place of judgment for that, okay? But the thing is to think about having people go to that one legitimate place for giving. I think that's because you're not going to stop scammers from coming in. You can sure stop them from taking money to the wrong source.
Thank you, Prof. On the option of PayPal, most of our country, they're not qualified to receive money via PayPal. So maybe what's another option, maybe, if we can't access PayPal for receiving money?
Honestly, I am not sure. I mean, to use GoFundMe sites, those work. You would have to find something that takes the cash in. The other one, and it's not for general contributors, is a bank account you can contribute to. But I would have to research that. I'm not sure that's a good question about other than a GoFundMe page, how you can have a place to take cash or contributions. I would have to look. Sorry.
Okay. Traditionally, we were taught that LinkedIn was the place for more businessy and serious, I can say that, serious posts, whilst Instagram is seen for a place for photos and you in your swimming costume at the beach. So how do you balance that? Like, how do you get people to take you seriously, yet you're on Instagram?
Okay. LinkedIn has become the business marketplace, and I get that. Some people even say, like right now, I have a website. I wonder if I even need ProfWriter. I like it. Do I need it? Because LinkedIn's where all my traffic is, right? So you have to be good on LinkedIn and professional, and you might want to blog professionally in there. But back to, again, that niche. We don't all have to be funny and laughing and in our swimsuit, right? There's geographic pictures. There's pictures of people you're working with your organization. There's ethnic food and recipes. These are all good, solid things. I mean, people can see you. By the way, one of the one way people make decisions about you on your personal brand many times are your personal interests. They might look at you at LinkedIn, but what do you like to do? Is your fishing your hobby? What do you like? And then maybe you post on fishing and the certain kind of fishing you do in what lake or area. So these are all legitimate ways to propose who you are, right? So you're right. It doesn't have to be funny, laughy, but images are powerful. They've been powerful for hundreds and hundreds of years as photography. Use good images and it will work with your LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Getting close here, folks. How about one more question? We're right at time here. One more?
Okay.
No?
Yes,
Done?
it's about the question that I asked initially, because most of the time you receive friend requests from some people. I don't know how to qualify them. So that's why we are used to put that privacy to decide who will follow you or not. So I just have to have your view about this.
Well, again, I made a little radical proposal to you, right? We're talking about Instagram, which is about followers in big numbers, which is about you making money. So it's not so much about, friend requests, maybe like Facebook. It's followers on Instagram, because we want to get that number up so we can get into the thousands and you can go on these other sites and start getting paid. So there's a way about this that, yes, it's not going to be perfect, and there's not going to be all the perfect people in there. But I'll suggest this. Let's say there's some female fitness models, okay, and they have 1.2 million followers. How many of those 1.2 million do you think are legit? Maybe a third, maybe a quarter, right? But guess what? They're selling against that 1.2 million number. They're getting paid for that 1.2 million number when they're out there marketing their brands and getting paid. So it's not a perfect world, but it's a numbers world of building that audience. And if someone here already has 500, that may becomes 5,000. And that's when you start realizing a way to make some of the income. Okay. It's not going to be perfect, but it's Instagram.
Okay.
Please,
Okay.
one last question. Okay, two questions. I want to. Okay, I want to find out. I see some posts on Facebook saying like, share, or on Twitter, like and retweet. Now, when somebody likes or retweets or shares my post, does it have anything to impact? Because most of the people who do that because of the money attached to it. Because I've seen a lot of people getting paid. Yesterday, somebody I know got paid $3,500. Yes. Yes, and she put a video on her page, and I thought it was a scam, but hearing this now, I think it's authentic. So I want to find out, liking and sharing or retweeting a post, what impact does it give to the person who makes the post?
Interesting. And by the way, please vet all these sources carefully. But I will tell you what, these pay sources I gave you came from Forbes magazine. That's why I went to that source. So you have to be sure it's legitimate. I believe the ones I showed you are. Okay. The only one of those 3 sites I showed you, there was only one that paid on traffic metrics. So maybe that one kicks up more traffic and you get paid more. A lot of the other ones are paid based on what your relationship is with that brand for that post. So maybe it might not be about traffic. They're all different. I think you got to figure out, which ones do I participate in? Remember that one where you build out your profile? You might build out a really good profile, and regularly brands are coming to you. That might be the only platform you use. And then you're not retweeting and doing all this other stuff. So maybe you find one good partner from one of those pay sites, and that's who you work with.
Okay, thank you. I think this is the last one.
All right.
Okay, my question is, traditionally, women are more in favor to get more engagement on Instagram and social media than men. So, what are the innovative ways that men can apply to increase their engagement?
You hit the reality of social media. That is true. That is true. But what's behind you? Like I said, if you have really good pictures of food and you're helping people with recipes, that's not gender oriented. Okay, if you're helping people see really good things about your organization that raise compassion, that's not about gender. So, I said it. There's some fitness type models on Instagram with millions of followers. I get that. But you are your own brand, and you have to, again, decide, who do I want to be and what's my niche? And that's who we are as people. I'm the same way. I'm still trying to be different things, but I'm not a female fitness model. So I probably will have to work towards some different numbers based on my niche. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Follow, if you would, follow up on the my space on the As You Learn, and there's a forum in there. I started, put something in there, ask some questions. Here's what I really like to learn. If any of you take off on this and start doing it, send me an email, put something in that forum, or let me know what's going on. I'd really like to find some of you that are finding success with this. We could model that out to all the thousands of others that need help. Okay? So if you're interested, stay in touch. I'd like to, talk with you maybe as we build a program. You could be part of that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.